Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, February 6, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a high pressure ridge right there across the northern section of North Atlantic, sending a lot of easterly winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see a line right here associated with a cold front that's affecting portions of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, and we can see some lines right here across portions of Cuba and Jamaica associated with a trough that was responsible for the rainfall that we got across sections of the island today. If we actually take a look at the visible satellite images, we can see those low-level patches of clouds moving across the main development region into the Caribbean, all courtesy of that easterly flow of winds brought by that high pressure ridge. We can see a line of clouds right here to the north of the Caribbean affecting portions of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos associated with that cold front. And we can see some clouds, some thunder clouds that is across portions of Cuba as well as Jamaica associated with that trough. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean later. Let's focus our attention on what happened across Jamaica today. A post was made at 2:45 p.m. highlighting some amount of clouds, bringing some overcast skies and some afternoon thunder showers across sections of St. Catherine and Clarendon as well as portions of Westmoreland. Moving ahead in time, another post was made at 4:55 p.m. highlighting a buildup of clouds across portions of Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, and we know that when we have these sparkling white dots, that's indicative of some lightning flashes, and we know that with the lightning comes the thunder, so lots of thunder showers across those very spots this afternoon. And the Doppler radar images at that time show that we had some greens that represent moderate rainfall across those very spots: Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland. Yellows in there as well, not to mention reds. The yellows represent the strong rainfall, the reds represent the severe weather. So lots of rainfall across those very spots, and we got some confirmation by our commenters on our Instagram page. One commenter stating rain at tear down Westmoreland of Lamar, another commenter stating rain in Mandeville, and another commenter rain at tear down the place in St. Elizabeth. If you actually take a look over on our Facebook page, we can see that Latoya stated yes, we got some in New Longville, Clarendon. If you actually take a look at the visible satellite images from now up to this hour that we're recording, we can see that yes, we had a buildup of clouds from east to west, and we had some amount of thunderstorms, and we can see those clouds being blown off towards the south and east. We can also see some amount of clouds bringing isolated showers across sections of St. Thomas in the late afternoon to evening hours. If we actually take a look at the latest infrared satellite images, yes, we are still seeing that we have some amount of clouds bringing overcast skies across portions of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth and maybe Manchester at this time, but majority of these thunderstorms are right there offshore across the sea. If you actually take a look at the Doppler radar images right now, the same spots that we see the clouds, that's where we have the heaviest of rainfall indicated by all of those yellows, and for the most part majority of the rainfall is offshore right now, so everything is becoming fair at this time. If you actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map is showing all of the rainfall that we got across Jamaica for the past 24 hours. So across sections of St. Thomas, across sections of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, that's where we got the rainfall for today, just like what we saw in the satellite images and Doppler radar images. If we actually take a look at the temperatures across the island for tonight, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 23 degrees Celsius in Lucy, and if you'd like you can pause this video right now and see what the temperatures are like in your specific area. Keep in mind that these temperatures should be getting cooler as the night progresses. If you actually take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, both the Euro and the GFS maps are showing 18D on Tuesday. That's actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And what do we see? We can see Jamaica embedded in those yellows and oranges that indicate above normal temperatures, up to 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above average temperatures. And what are the average temperatures for the month of February? About 86 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you actually take a look at the thermometer, 86 degrees Fahrenheit is about the equivalent of 30 degrees Celsius. So if we're going to be receiving 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above average, we're going to be receiving, let's say, 32, 31 degrees Celsius above average for tomorrow. Alright, so moving on, we can look at the dry air map right now. We can see that the reds and oranges that we used to be getting last week are no longer across sections of Jamaica. We can see that Jamaica is embedded in some yellows and some blues, all courtesy of that trough that's affecting the air. So we have more moist air as opposed to that dry air that we've been receiving for the past week. If you actually take a look at the Saharan dust map right now, Jamaica is in the clear. Majority of the dust is across portions of the main development region and Africa. If you actually take a look at the wind forecast for tomorrow, the winds are going to be coming from the east as indicated by the Euro and the GFS models. This map is showing 12 p.m. on Tuesday. The strongest winds on the GFS seem to be coming across portions of northern Jamaica. So anywhere from 10 to 20, maybe even reaching up to 25 knot winds are expected. However, where do we have the least amount of winds? Across portions of southern and western Jamaica. And what usually happens when we have that? We have that buildup of clouds across portions of southern Jamaica in the afternoon hours. And when we have that buildup of clouds, we have afternoon convection. So with that trough in the air, there might still be some amount of rainfall, bring some afternoon thunder showers across those various spots. And with the wind shear coming in from the northwest, there will still be a bias for any thunder clouds that develop to be pushed off towards the south. So mainly southern parishes are going to be in for some afternoon thunder showers as well as overcast skies. So just like what we got today with all of those thunder clouds developing high up in the atmosphere and being pushed off towards the south or the east-southeast, that is what we're going to be seeing tomorrow. Alright, so moving on, let's take a look at the precipitation forecast for the future. We can see that 11 p.m. tonight we see some blues that indicate some rainfall surrounding Jamaica. Some of this blue touching sections of northern Jamaica, maybe St. Mary, Portland. This is 11 p.m. on the Euro. What does the GFS show? The GFS showing some rainfall around the island, yes, but we can see the consensus across portions of northern Jamaica. So we shall see exactly what happens tonight at 11 p.m. Moving ahead, tomorrow at 7 a.m. the Euro and the GFS model are showing some blues that represent rainfall across portions of eastern Jamaica. So St. Thomas and Portland are in for some rainfall tomorrow. Moving ahead, 10 a.m. the Euro and the GFS are still showing some blues across those various spots. Moving ahead again to 3 p.m. now, we can see some blues across portions of central and western Jamaica, more so southern and western Jamaica. What does the GFS show? We see some blues across those various spots, but we still have that blue across portions of northern Jamaica. So we shall see exactly what unfolds with that. We're in for some rain definitely tomorrow, so ensure that you bring your umbrella with you. Both accumulated precipitation forecast maps are showing some amount of rainfall across Jamaica today, and regardless of location, even although the GFS is making more sense, showing majority of the rainfall across Portland and St. Thomas, considering that all of the maps are showing the times when we are having that rainfall. We're in for some rainfall tomorrow definitely, so ensure that you bring your weather gear. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's talk briefly about the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see before the sun went down, we have a lot of clouds being pushed by that easterly flow across portions of the Caribbean, so to the north of the ABC Islands, right there affecting portions of Guatemala. Lots of clouds right there. You can also see some clouds streaking off of South America from the southwest to the northeast across portions of the Windward Islands, including Trinidad and Tobago. That's a lot of high-level clouds. We don't have any form of rainfall coming out of those clouds at all. We usually get the rainfall coming in from those clouds that are moving from east to west, those low-level clouds. If we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, we can see that we had some rainfall across the area today. if you actually load these images, it is showing from 1:30 p.m. today. We can see that we had some amount of greens that represent moderate rainfall across portion of Guadeloupe, section of Dominica, not so much across portion of the British and US Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico. Just mainly the northeastern Caribbean getting in on some of that rainfall. If we actually take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see where we have that rainfall across the area. So to the north and west of Barbados, including areas such as St. Vincent, St. Lucia, portions of Dominica and Martinique getting in on some of that rainfall. If we actually take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we have some amount of rainfall right there to the north of the ABC Islands, section of Colombia, section of, let's say, French Guyana and Guyana getting in on some rainfall. Majority of the rainfall is across portions of Mexico right there, inland areas of Mexico. Not so much rainfall across portions of Belize at this time. If you actually take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map is showing 1 p.m. on Tuesday. We can see that for the most part, the above normal temperatures will be across portions of Cuba, Florida, portions of Mexico, Belize, the majority of Central America. That's what we see. That's where we see the consensus on both the Euro and the GFS. While for the Eastern Caribbean, majority of the Eastern Caribbean seems to be in the clear. That represents average temperature, so nothing above average or below normal. That's what we're going to be expecting across that area for tomorrow. Sections of South America, we can see some normal temperatures there as well, so Guyana, French Guyana as well. If you actually take a look at the Saharan dust forecast, French Guyana might see some amount of dust, some dry air, maybe some hazy skies. We can see that majority of the Caribbean, from the Eastern Caribbean to the Western Caribbean, is in the clear. Majority of the dust is across portions of the main development region as well as Africa. If you actually take a look at the wind forecast for tomorrow, we're going to be receiving an easterly flow of winds. We can see the consensus on both the Euro and the GFS models. The strongest winds across portions of the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, portions of the Cayman Islands, that area right there to the south of Jamaica and Haiti, to the north of Colombia. That's where the strongest winds are going to be. Anywhere from 20 to 25 knot winds are expected, and we know that wherever we usually have the strongest winds, that's where we have the largest wave height. So fishers, do take your precautions. Alright, so if we actually take a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, we're going to be receiving less than an inch of rainfall across these various spots that we see, the greens and the yellows. So sections of the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, portions of northeastern Cuba, sections of Jamaica just as stated, portions of the eastern portion of the Dominican Republic, sections of eastern Puerto Rico, sections of Guadeloupe, as well as that island to the south of Guadeloupe, which is Dominica. Might getting on some of that rainfall. That's where we see the consensus. Scrolling down, we can see that the area right there across Trinidad should be getting in on some rainfall. This map is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. So those specific areas are in for some amount of rainfall. You can see some rainfall across eastern Venezuela, sections of Guyana as well. The most rainfall is being shown for portions of Costa Rica, Nicaragua and Honduras. Even up to 1 inch of rainfall is expected there, and we know that there might be some amount of isolated flash flooding in some spots. If you actually take a look across the western section of the basin, less than an inch of rainfall is expected across portions of Mexico, Belize as well, and the GFS model is in agreement with that. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.